let's turn to Nancy Pelosi. Yesterday, Nancy Pelosi answered some questions on Joe Biden's refusal to cancel student loan debt.
Joe Biden. I said Bidel.
Bidel?
I haven't heard that one, but Joe Bidel.
Joe Bidel.
I was calling him Joe Bidet earlier, but yeah.
Well, I mean, for Hello Tushy purposes. Joe Bidel. Joe Biden's refusal to cancel student loan debt. So she answered a press pool question about it. She's contradicting her claims by her counterpart in the Senate because Chuck Schumer is ostensibly at least trying to get Biden to cancel $50,000 of student loan debt in tandem with Elizabeth Warren. Who knows how performative that is? But honestly, Biden hasn't budged at all. And this is a political layup for him if he chooses to take the shot. Seemingly, he's just trying to just sit at half court with the ball in his hands. And that hurts people because there are 44 million Americans who have over $1.6 trillion of student loan debt. But here is Nancy Pelosi providing cover for the Biden administration. We have two clips for you. Here's the first.
People think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not. He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress. And I don't even like to call it forgiveness because that implies a transgression. It's not to be forgiven. Just freeing people from those obligations. So the question of who gets forgiven, to use the term of art that is out there, is a debate. Do we use whatever money there is for the broadest base of support of those with more people with even less debt or fewer people with more debt? That's a policy discussion. But the difference between the president can't do it. So that's not even a discussion. Not everybody realizes that. But the president can only postpone, delay, but not forgive.
So that's just not accurate, right?
College, but you're paying.
So yeah, that's just not accurate, right? So the American Prospect has done great reporting on this subject. As I mentioned, over 40 million Americans have student debt right now. It's an albatross on the neck of the economy. People keep saying, oh, we need to get young people and millennials more incentivized to buy homes, as if there's any money available to them. What would give them money is if some of the student debt was canceled, or not all of it. That's what I'm in favor. But at the very least, this $50,000 figure that is being proposed by Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren in the Senate. And it's not true that he doesn't have the authority to do this. Biden, during the pandemic, essentially opted out of collecting student debt, since after the Obama era, the government has been primarily responsible for all of the student debt. Obama got rid of banks as the middlemen in 2010, and it essentially made student loans kind of public properties for the government. So by that exact same legal authority, Biden can eliminate debt. And Biden was supposed to be getting together this kind of legal task force to figure out that very question that David Dayen and the American Prospect already figured out. But the reality is that it was a stalling tactic, and Pelosi just kind of jumped the gun on giving cover for the Biden administration because they were going to say this anyway. It's completely disgusting, but she didn't stop there. She continued and decided to adopt a libertarian light argument to run cover again for the Biden administration.
This is how you know she's lying, because if it was just about Biden didn't have the ability to do this, she wouldn't say, and also it would be unfair to these in this really dumb way she's about to say here.
Right, exactly.
That would be an attitude that people would have. But even take it on top of that, suppose your family was not, your child just decided they want to, at this time, not want to go to college, but you're paying taxes to forgive somebody else's obligations. You may not be happy about that. But you know what? We want all of our kids to reach their fulfillment. To the extent that they want to go to college. We do not want them to be prohibited from doing that for financial reasons. I've had high school students come in here and say with their
So her argument there essentially is that people shouldn't be paying taxes to provide for the general welfare of people when those taxes don't directly benefit them. I think I've heard that argument a few times from right-wingers, from libertarians, and I didn't realize that it was an argument that held water in her mind, that if I don't want my taxes to go towards drone strikes on children, if I don't want my taxes to go towards funding ICE, if I want to stop funding oil and gas subsidies, that I get to just like opt out, and that's something that she sees as perfectly reasonable in her kind of politics. But like, this is the road that she wants to go down. This is exactly to Matt's point. She panicked at this moment because this kind of philosophy contradicts everything that even Democrats like her are supposed to espouse. The reality is that she's gotten the memo down from the Biden administration that they're not going to do this. And she went a little too far in her answer there. And that this is a source of revenue for the government. When that middleman was cut out and when the government became the primary holders of debt in the United States, they make money from this, one. And two, Biden has always seen debt as a way to discipline people. This comes from his time as a senator and his history with credit card companies. He wants student debt really to be an albatross in a way for generations of people to keep working in industries that make a ton of money, to say not going into social work, for example, or being a public defender. This is a way to funnel people into corporate America, one, and two, it's a disciplinary tool as debt, and three, it's a revenue source for the federal government. So Biden does not want to touch this at all, and he's making up some legal jargon and process. As I return to, the theme of the Biden administration is hiding behind procedure and legal obstacles that don't exist in many instances to not do what's right.
Well, and obstacles that Schumer and Elizabeth Warren have said don't exist. So the fight needs to be heightened between those camps.
Right. And that is on them, Schumer and Elizabeth Warren right now, to have a response that's forceful and contradicts Nancy Pelosi. Part of what Pelosi's calculating here, too, is that they're not going to do that. It looks bad if there's a public fight between the Senate Majority Leader of the Democratic Party and the Speaker of the House of the Democratic Party. And so this is why she's kind of she's being a barrier between the two rowdy senators.
Yeah, if you're in Schumer or Warren's office, it's time to look bad. It's time to start looking bad about this stuff.
Agreed. Because just for self-preservation purposes, constantly I feel like I have to appeal to the Democratic Party's desire to remain in power. But this is a pretty good damn way to remain in power, to cancel people's student debt. People aren't going to forget that.
And we've done like the gradients of Biden. As far as like the structural stuff, I still think he's basically on an F, a D, basically. Like we keep hearing these talks of like this might get done, that might get done, and I'm sorry, like big spending, unless you get these structural things, it's not that. And like I don't know, like that unless get Schumer and Warren on side for student loan debt, and then they get played off by procedural things. That's a party problem.
Right. You can't. Right, exactly. I mean, I would give him a C because I think the child tax credit's an important thing and universal pre-K, but absolutely, if the Senate Majority Leader is going to allow an argument, a flimsy and untruthful argument about procedure to get in the way of something that's necessary like this, okay. That is a Democratic Party problem, as you say.
Folks, there's more of what you've just saw where that came from. That's if you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you. Really, thank you.